On a quiet and tranquil neighborhood corner, a stone's throw from the South Massapequa waterfront, a simple historical marker casts a shadow over the site of a 17th century fort that continues to be the subject of persistent folklore and tireless fact-hunting. I'm Supervisor Joe Saladino. The mystery of Fort Massapeag is up next on Our Stories. Dr. John DiMarco, a researcher and professor at St. John's University in New York, has chronicled the history of Fort Massapeag in 2 books that explore how the site was discovered, studied, and eventually protected by the town of Oyster Bay.
What archaeologists refer to as Fort Massapeag. It's one of 2 forts erected in what was originally known as Fort Neck, which is now Bar Harbor, Massapequa. The first fort washed away sometime during the 17th century, but remnants of Fort Massapeag remained well into the 1900s.
We don't know the exact date the fort was built, but in 1656, Chief Takapusa made a deal with Dutch Governor Peter Stuyvesant to build a fort on land, which is now called Fort Neck.
By 1664, the English had taken possession of Long Island from the Dutch, and 3 decades later, Thomas Townsend purchased the land on which the fort had stood and deeded it to his son-in-law and daughter, Thomas and Freelove Jones. The heirs of Thomas and Freelove left the majority of the fort area undeveloped for more than 200 years until the Jones family finally sold it to developers in 1933. And this is where the mystery begins.
As developers began to establish homes, they uncovered this archaeological site. What was found was an amazing array of artifacts. Some of them were European, others were Native American, projectile points, or as the common person would know it as arrowheads.
The subsequent discovery of human remains on the site, along with a statement attributed to Judge Samuel Jones, sparked a long-running legend that the fort was the site of a bloody 17th century battle between Dutch colonists and Native Americans.
Samuel Jones' account of the massacre described a small army of fighters following Captain Underhill to the fort and slaughtering roughly 120 Massapeags.
Despite evidence to the contrary, many chose to believe and perpetuate the folklore of a brutal massacre on this site. But whether Fort Massapeag was simply a Dutch and Indian trading post or the scene of a 17th century Indian battle, Dr. John DiMarco maintains that it serves as an important monument to our past.
What we need to take away from Fort Massapeag is that it was a place of cooperation, a place of collaboration, and it was a place of historic contact. And we must remember that this is a sacred place that has been protected for over 100 years by the town of Oyster Bay through efforts by preservationists, archaeologists, and historians.
We may never know exactly what happened on this piece of land more than 3.5 centuries ago, as there are possibly hundreds of telltale artifacts and clues that are lost. One thing for certain, however, is that the intriguing and sometimes misunderstood Fort Massapeag narrative lives on as a notable thread in the tapestry of our story.